Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned into NB12, broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Coming up tonight in news, police yet to release mid-year crime statistics. Reverend Philip McPhee's proposal for churches to give money to the government rejected. Are police officers excessively forceful? The commissioner and the community weigh in. Plus, Baha Mar dealing with disappointed employees after offering separation packages. We've got those stories and so much more coming up. I'm Paige McCartney, and NB12 starts right now. It's been over 24 hours since the Commissioner of Police revealed that all major categories of crime except armed robbery are down. It's also been several weeks since the first half of the year ended. However, since then, the Royal Bahamas Police Force has failed to provide the public with verifiable data to support the Commissioner of Police, Alison Greenslade's claim that crime is down by 6% compared to the same period last year, though NB12 and the Nassau Guardian have made repeated requests. Juan McCartney reports.
It was right here at police headquarters yesterday where the commissioner made that revelation. While he expounded at length about why police believe crime is down among many major categories, he did not provide details as to how much the categories have shifted. He also said that murder is down, a contention that we found is inaccurate. According to NB12's records and information provided by the Police Central Detective Unit, as of yesterday, the country's murder count for the year stood at 73. The country's murder count up to the same day in 2011 was also 73. However, with the police reclassifying to fairly recent killings, the murder count for 2012 is still somewhat unclear, though certainly not down as the commissioner suggested, though that may change as the month progresses. The disparity in the murder numbers only came to light last week. Here's what happened. On Sunday, July 8th, police records, as well as those of NB12, pegged the murder count at 72 for the year, after 3 murders occurred that weekend. Since then, at least 3 more murders have occurred. The stabbing death of 26-year-old Calvin Stewart in Sunridge, Grand Bahama on July 11th, that's 73. The shooting death of an unidentified man on Bruce Avenue West on Grand Bahama on July 12th, 74. And the shooting death of Casey Adderley, 33, on Coxway in New Providence on July 13th. That should have put the murder count at 75. However, Superintendent Paul Roll, who heads the Central Detective Unit, told us last Friday that 2 cases which occurred prior to July 8th were reclassified as manslaughter, and the reported count of 72 murders at that time should actually have been 70. The 2 reclassified cases were the May 3rd stabbing death of 25-year-old Aldine Gibson by a 22-year-old woman and the death of 22-year-old Rashad Williams, who was struck down and killed by a Honda Inspire after he reportedly attempted to confront its occupants, who he believed killed his mother minutes earlier on election night. But here's where our numbers vary. The alleged culprits in Williams' death were not charged with his murder, so we removed him from the count way before July 8th. So even when we remove the other death, our murder tally stands at 74, the police at 73. Either way, there was no drop in the murder count. And that's just keeping track of murders. It's far more difficult to keep accurate records of armed robberies, housebreakings, burglaries, home invasions, assaults, and, as recently came to light, rapes. Many of these crimes are not reported on a daily basis. Rape, never. Perhaps the murder count will go down as the month progresses, as last July saw a record of 20 murders, matched only this May, even with the reclassifications. National Security Minister Dr. Bernard Nottage has set a target of reducing the murder count this year, an accomplishment that eluded his predecessor, Tommy Turnquest. After much pressure last year, the police force released statistics for the first 6 months of 2011, showing a 16% increase in crime. This year, however, calls to the commissioner, the deputy commissioner, the assistant commissioner with responsibility for crime, and the police force press liaison have all proved fruitless in obtaining the crime statistics so far. Reporting for NB12, I'm Juan McCartney.
Well, over the past few years, police have shot more than a dozen suspects in the line of duty with sometimes fatal consequences. And while Commissioner Greenslade supports the officers involved in those incidents, there was today mixed reaction from some members of the public. Jasmine Bonamy reports.
In recent weeks, there have been several police-involved shootings, and while some say the police are just too aggressive, others say they're doing just what needs to be done in the fight against crime.
One of the most recent police-involved shootings occurred just last week in the Florida Court area after police fired on a man who they allege led them on a high-speed chase before opening fire on them. At the time, many residents in the area were outraged, claiming police used excessive force. That suspect is still living, but there are those who weren't as lucky. Perhaps the most memorable police shooting in recent years was the death of 19-year-old Shamarko Newbold, whose death sparked a violent uproar in the Baintown community in November 2010. Then there are those cases that end up in the coroner's court, like that of Brenton Smith, who was shot and killed in July 2009 while he was walking with a friend just off Village Road. A jury found that officer acted in self-defense. But these are just a few incidents that have sparked public outrage. Commissioner Greenslade said in no uncertain terms that police will respond with force when faced with potentially life-threatening danger.
Very forthrightly, if a member of the public in possession of an illegal gun pulls that weapon, points it in the direction of a police officer, or attempts to take on a police officer, you're going to have a situation where the police will fire their weapons without hesitation. The Commissioner is not going to interfere with the discretion of a police officer who feels that he or she is under threat to respond as per law.
Greenslade adds that the streets of New Providence are saturated with illegal weapons and criminals who have no problem using them.
I look at the amount of weapons we've taken off the streets to date, 318. And well over 5,000 rounds of ammunition. And if you juxtapose the amount of police shootings against that, it's insignificant. If you take the shootings in isolation, and then you'll perceive that you have a problem. But I don't think so. I marvel at the amount of cases we have where police officers confront armed assailants and no shots are fired. You won't hear about it because it says no news story. Our people are doing really good work.
Our news team spoke with residents in different areas of New Providence today, and while most agreed with Greenslade's stance, there were those who did not. They believed that while the force has many good cops, there are those bad apples.
To tackle crime, you have to be aggressive somewhat, no matter how you put it, right? Ain't everybody can be, quote unquote, as I should say, if police do good, they ain't gonna say. If police do bad, then they'll say that the police do bad. But no matter what you do, you can have your nays and you can have your yes.
But while some disagreed with some of the force's methods, they all shared a common view about crime, saying it's gotten so bad that extraordinary steps must be taken.
They've got me afraid. Because without the police, we cannot make it. Anything go wrong, they call for the police, and they're doing a good job.
I think the police is doing a good job in the area. They keep on passing through.
I don't think they're too aggressive. I think they're doing what they need to do in times, and there's probably instances where some force needs to be implemented. And to that, in that regard, I'm sure that the police can use their discretion.
Meantime, Greenslade assured that every step will be taken to ensure the public is safe, and that includes suspects who they confront. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Bonamy.
Well, the Bahamas Christian Council today rejecting a call made by Baptist pastor Dr. Philip McPhee asking his colleagues opposed to the legalization of gambling to support the establishment of a special fund and make regular financial donations for national development programs. Here's Charisma Robinson.
Reverend McPhee says he's willing to donate 10% of his church's revenue every month to the public purse as the government struggles to increase sources of revenue.
And he says he wants other churches to follow suit. McPhee says clergymen opposed to the idea of legalizing gambling in this country should come forward with solid plans for the country's progress, including committing some of their church's revenue to the government, instead of only talking about what they do not want. He added that churches have a significant revenue stream that is untaxed, like the illegal number houses. But as far as BCC President Reverend Ranford Patterson is concerned, the church is already assisting the government in a number of ways. He dismissed McPhee's proposal as irrelevant.
Who do you think we are assisting when we assist the persons in the community? Can you imagine if everyone who comes to the church for assistance were to go to social services? Can you imagine the amount of persons that we are helping every day in this community? The amount of members in our churches that we assist every day? We do more than 10%. We are assisting the government. We are assisting them in every way possible. We're assisting them in education. We're assisting them in social services. Every facet of society, the church is already involved in assistance. So what more does that, what more do they need from us to do? So whatever Dr. McAfee is talking about is irrelevant. And please, I pray this is the last time we talk about what Dr. McAfee is saying.
Bishop Walter Hanschel of Great Commission Ministries also shared similar views with our news team today. He cried shame on McAfee for what he said is promoting gambling and suggested that he is speaking from both sides of his mouth by asking Bahamians to consider a gambling referendum he has said he would not support. He also says he doesn't know where McAfee gets the idea that churches in the country have significant revenue to assist the government financially.
The government has a responsibility to provide jobs, to provide industry, healthcare, etc., for the benefit of the community. Now, there are those out there who are saying that the church is doing nothing and that they can't get any help from the church. Well, the church can only do so much with its limited resources. And the church cannot help everybody. It wasn't designed to help everybody.
Both Hanschel and Patterson agreed that the government should find its own means for increasing revenue sources in this country, and instead of focusing on a gambling referendum at this time, it should be figuring out how it's going to get more Bahamians off the unemployment line.
The government has a responsibility to level the playing field for Bahamians, and that's what we hope that the government would do. We must not take the easy way out. I think Dr. Johnson made that quite clear on Independence Day. We ought not to take the easy way out.
Another thing the government could do is rather than just promoting tourism, promote manufacturing plants, industry. We've been saying for a long time to diversify the economy. That has not happened, but it needs to happen host pace. It needs to happen.
The BCC says McAfee has the right to express his views, but no matter what, the council's position on the legalization of gambling will not change, as he claims more than 99% of churches on this island are unified on this matter. Reporting for NB12, I'm Charisma Robinson.
Well, the search continued today for any survivors of a plane crash off the coast of the Berry Islands yesterday. According to Basra officials, the small aircraft was carrying husband and wife licensed pilots who departed from Marsh Harbor, Abaco en route to Daytona Beach, Florida. They are thought to be Alan and Kathleen Van Nimwingen of Daytona Beach, Florida. Officials say they left Marsh Harbor International Airport Monday morning but lost contact with the FAA due to weather. So far, search crews have only been able to find some debris, an empty life raft, and an oil slick. Basra's Chief of Operations Chris Lloyd said the pilot was flying northwest when he should have been flying southwest. He believes it was an attempt to go around bad weather. Lloyd added that another couple that knew the pilot and his wife and had been with them in Abaco were very disappointed the couple decided to leave Marsh Harbor in such bad weather.